The NBA's regular season is 176 nights long, and some of those nights are thrilling, and some of them are pretty dead, and sometimes, well, things get a little weird. Last night was definitely the latter, as the Spurs beat the Rockets in double overtime, thanks to a scoring explosion from, wait for it, nope, not LaMarcus Aldridge, he wasn't even playing, not DeMar DeRozan, no, it was Lonnie Walker, who prior to this game was buried so deep on Greg Popovich's bench, he'd been averaging 6 minutes a night. But against Houston, Walker broke out, scoring 28 total, 19 in the fourth quarter, as the Spurs were able to complete a comeback from being down 22. Which means on the flip side, the Rockets coughed up a 22-point lead, and they also had weirdness with two of their superstars. On the one hand, James Harden scored 50, which is extremely good. But he did it on 11 of 38 shooting, which is not so good. In fact, Harden is the first player in the shot clock era to score 50 while shooting below 35% from the field. Not great, Bob. But hey, at least he wasn't Russell Westbrook, who scored 19, shooting 7 of 30. Yeah, I just want to repeat that. Russ took 30 shots and ended up with the same amount of points as his teammate Austin Rivers, who took 8 shots. And yet, even all of that is not the really weird part of last night. No, that distinction goes to this moment with just under 8 to play. Watch Harden steal the ball and then dunk. Officials thought the ball went back up through the hoop, so after going in, that would have been a no basket if that had happened. But as you watch the slow-mo replay here, you can actually see what does happen. The ball goes all the way through the net, then whips the net forward as the ball comes out and hits the rim. And look, I know the NBA has had a lot of rule changes over the years, but when a ball goes through a net, that, my friends, is a score in any time, in any place, except, I guess, in San Antonio last night, because the officials didn't recognize it and then wouldn't let Coach Mike D'Antoni challenge it. Much later, after the game, the officiating crew admitted they had made a mistake, but the Rockets were incensed. The way they saw it, if they had had the 2 points, they would have been ahead when the buzzer sounded to end regulation, would not have been forced into 2 overtimes, and eventually the loss column. Now, sources told our Tim McMahon that the team is, quote, hopeful the NBA will now take action, either just outright awarding the victory to Houston, McMahon reports, or ordering that the final 7 minutes, 50 seconds of the game be replayed. I can tell you that just awarding the win to the Rockets, not going to happen, kids. A replay? Well, there's some precedent. Remember this Heat-Hawks game from 12 years ago. Officials called a foul on Shaq, which they thought was his 6th, which knocked him out of the game, except, it was only his 5th foul. So Miami protested, and when the Heat and Hawks met again a few months later, they played their regularly scheduled game, took a 15-minute break, and then replayed the final 52 seconds of the earlier game. Except by at that point, Shaq had already been traded to the Suns, so he wasn't on the court for the replay, which had been the whole point of redoing the end of the game to begin with. And there is more, though. The NBA has actually replayed parts of games 4 different times throughout its history. One was Spurs-Lakers. That was a game in '82. Another was a Hawks-Bulls game in 1969. The other instance came in 1978. That was during a Nets-Sixers game. Referee went a little crazy, calling 3 technicals on the Nets coach, which, I mean, you only get 2. The ref also called 3 techs on a Sixers player. Again, not allowed in the rules. So the NBA decided to replay part of that game. Except then the Sixers and Nets made a huge trade midseason. So by the time the replay date came around, several of the players were playing in opposite uniforms and went down in the final box score as scoring points for both teams.
Not bad.
So, does last night's mistake reach the level of any of those examples? We will wait for the NBA to decide. For now, though, it's just a very weird night in the association, a league which clearly has already had its share of them. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.